Hey guys, what is up? Today we are going to talk about Carrie Bradshaw, the ever so fabulous, ever so controversial, ever so intriguing protagonist of an equally fabulous, controversial and intriguing show, Sex and the City. In the show, we follow Carrie and her friends Miranda, Charlotte and Samantha as they navigate their 30s and early 40s. Having said that, I strongly believe that their target audience actually has been the women in their 20s who are starting their careers, getting the first taste of newly found financial independence and autonomy and agency in their lives. We are mainly going to talk about how Carrie Bradshaw, with her life decisions, portrayed a very delusioned and quite frankly, a harmful pictures of my 20s to a faithful viewer like myself. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the show. It's an award-winning show that talked about feminism, women's right to make their own identity, both financially and emotionally. And I know it's supposed to be this fabulous fantasy fairy tale for adult women. But still, because Carrie is so relatable, she could be a woman you knew from work or school or your gym. Her life seems attainable, which it is not, by the way, and hence sets us normal innocent audience members up for a major life disappointment. 4 horrible life lessons Carrie Bradshaw taught me about my 20s. Expectation of a luxury wardrobe. Now, it's pretty evident that fashion is a huge and inseparable part of the show, especially since we follow the life of Carrie so closely and see the world of Sex and the City from her perspective. Her fashion choices automatically become engraved in our minds. Whether it's 100 pairs of Manolo Blahnik shoes, which she calls her lovers by the way, her obsession with the Fenty Beckett bag, even to the point that when the bag is being stolen from her on gunpoint, she doesn't cease to point it out to the burglar that it's not a bag, it's Beckett. Her iconic Dior dress, which she just wears casually, her Vivienne Westwood wedding dress, her Birkins, and the list goes on and on. Her love for her shoes and bags is so immense, and hence the projection on the audience is so strong that the bags and shoes don't just remain bag and shoes. They become who Carrie is, a successful writer living her best life in one of the world's most glamorous cities. When I as a student first watched the show, Carrie introduced me to this big, bad world of these fancy brands, and I aspired to one day have a job and enough money to afford that kind of lifestyle, only to later wallow in disappointment when I got to know the price of these possessions. Every piece in Carrie's wardrobe, for the uninitiated, runs in thousands of dollars, and for Indian audiences, in lakhs of rupees. Yes, all the brands that she so casually puts on her bag and leaves the house, they are worth a bomb. Now, as I said, I understand that this is a fictional show and it needed to showcase such brands as a part of product placement and for visual appeal for that matter. But the problem is that Carrie is not a fashionista, model or designer. She is not Miranda Priestley from Rebel Wears Prada or Sylvie from Emily in Paris. She's a regular working girl who can afford all that in her 30s apparently. So a regular girl like me rebels and says, if she can, why can't I? And hence begins a very unstable and toxic relationship with money and spending. The even more problematic part, according to me, of such portrayal is that the ability to buy a luxury wardrobe is shown to be very aspirational. As Samantha in one scene says, Birkin is not a bag, it's a sign saying that you made it. For us young women who are chasing career goals, investments, a certain amount in a bank account, the show teaches us to chase bags and shoes with a designer logo instead, which is misplaced and frustrating to say the least. If in financial trouble, approach men, friends, other people, and please make them take care of your finances. Now, where do I start? Carrie, as we discussed earlier, is, to put it lightly, not that financially savvy. She doesn't believe in saving for a heyday, and boring but life-saving financial mechanism like an emergency fund, well-planned investments, your typical valuing stable housing over Manolo Blahnik shoes is just not her cup of tea. So, when she's in a financial slump, like the infamous "I broke up with my loyal boyfriend who bought the paste for me and now forcing me to pay for it and I have no money in my bank account at all" scenario, remember that scene? When Carrie comes to the realization that she doesn't have a place to live, but has shoes worth $40,000 sitting comfortably in her wardrobe. Now, when she is faced with such financial uncertainty, what does a brilliant Carrie do? Does she sell off her shoes? No. Does she downsize and go live in a cheaper apartment? Also no. She first shows the eviction notice to her lawyer friend Miranda and seeks legal advice, pro bono of course, then goes to her ex-boyfriend who just loans her the money for the down payment, but she rejects it because dignity, only to coerce her beloved and newly divorced friend Charlotte into giving her engagement ring to Carrie so that she can pay for her apartment that she should have had money to own in the first place. For a woman like me who is trying to make her own identity and is proud of the money I make out of my own blood, sweat and tears, this entire episode just makes me cringe. My money is a boarding pass for me to break away from shackles of depending on a man or anyone else for that matter, but me for my own needs. And this teaches me what? It teaches me that hey, don't save up. Live and spend like it's your last day on earth, and in case you do need some money, please don't shy away from emotionally blackmailing your family and friends, because hey, it's their responsibility to make sure that you afford your lavish and extravagant lifestyle, isn't it? And you know what? If this would have been a one-off episode, I would have still somehow ignored it. But it seems like Carrie is far too comfortable in taking such favors. And these favors keep coming knocking on her doors far too conveniently. For example, she wants PR services, Samantha will do it for her. She wants to buy a house for her and Big says in all his charms, "I got it." And she twirls in her skirt saying, "You got it? Cool then." She wants to go to Paris. She waits her entire life for a man to take her there. Girl, if you wanted to go to Paris so bad, book your own damn ticket. Guys, the sad part of it all is that all of this, the entire episode ends so smoothly and almost has this nearly fairy tale ending for Carrie that even after having such nightmarish finances, everything is perfect in her life and she gets these easy stop solutions. All of this makes the scenario even scarier and misleading for young impressionable women trying to make a mark with their own money. Eating out so frequently like your life depends upon it. Ooh. If you have watched even one episode of Sex and the City, you would know what I'm talking about. Every episode has at least one scene of either these lovely leading ladies dining out or getting a coffee or muffin just because, or ordering some takeouts. It almost feels like they are incapable of meeting up and talking until there is some food involved. It almost feels like they never cook at home, ever. There are at least two scenes showcasing just that. When Carrie proudly proclaims that she stores sweaters in her stove, and Samantha's girlfriend, in her hilarious rage, while breaking her plates, says, "You don't even cook." Now, this is not me saying that all women should cook and they should conform to their stereotypical gender roles. Hell no. You do not come to this podcast for sexist comments like that. I hope not. I am just saying that it is so expensive to order takeouts and depend on these commercial establishments like restaurants and cafes and coffee shops for each and every meal. No matter which country or city you live in, no matter what background you come from, it is always cheaper to cook at home. And not to mention healthier. To be fair, how Carrie ordered those Chinese takeouts every day and stayed size 0 is beyond me. Even though the other ladies also heavily depended on ordering takeouts and dining out culture, there is still some explanation of their fitness and lifestyle. For example, Charlotte runs regularly. Samantha, she does Pilates. And Miranda was never shown as this it girl with the conventional body size ever. In fact, her body issues, especially her postpartum weight gain, were beautifully and explicitly discussed in the show, hence making their situations real and understandable. Very, very, very unlike Carrie's situation. So, what I was saying was, when I, as a 20-something woman, when I go out for dinner with my friends, take out my shiny card and pay for the dinner, when I come back tired from work and I just order a takeout and then eat that greasy food on my bed, I feel like it's such a Sex and the City moment. And hence, instead of evaluating my spending habits, I feel proud, I feel glamorous, and I aspire to live like that every day. I mean, just be realistic. Who wants to cook every day when you can just order? And who doesn't want to eat out in these fancy restaurants on a regular basis? But our common sense, our finances, and our health concerns stop us. But at the same moment, Carrie from Sex and the City, she just waltz in, adds a flavor of glamour and a touch of this should be done on a regular basis to such dining out habits that throws out our entire common sense out of the window, makes us want to strap on our heels, get a shiny card out and head out for a meal that we could have made at home and which wouldn't have broken our bank if we would have cooked at home. The illusion of work-life balance. So, for the uninitiated, Carrie is a writer. She writes a blog in newspaper about, love and the quest of love and sex. And yeah, those blogs were assimilated into a book later on in the show. And that book also got very famous, and later on in the movie we find out that she has written a series of books, in fact, on the subject of love. See, I know Carrie is successful and I love a successful queen. My problem here is that Carrie's too good to be true work-life balance irks me. Yes, I know, she's a writer. I know nothing about writer life. I am a lawyer and I should rather be looking at Miranda's life, not hers, where obviously I know that there is an entire scene about Miranda negotiating 55 hours a week because she has a baby, and 55 hours a week for her is cutting down. I mean, I can't even. But the thing is, when I, a corporate professional, look at Carrie's life, I feel like, wow, I am busy and I'm stuck in this corporate life. And I barely have any time for recreation. I have to ask people for holidays. But freelancing must be so cool and freeing. I mean, look at her schedule. She seems to write one article once every week or once every month, basically once every blue moon, which obviously gets super famous, and that's it. She gallivants around town, does her so-called research by visiting clubs with her friends, and has so much free time at hand. However, I know for a fact that the world of freelancing is not that free. It has its own challenges, and Carrie's carefree work life does not really portray an honest picture. Also, can we take a moment to talk about her robust work ethic? She parties all night before an important photo shoot in the morning, arrives late, and then shows attitude when her picture is not that great. Then, she misses her deadline and avoids her boss at all costs, only to find out that she has got a book offer adorned on a plate very conveniently waiting for her. Way to appreciate that behavior. Then, of course, she also cribs about getting comments on her first Vogue article by her editor. Really, Carrie? What else was your editor supposed to do? Her entire job is about editing what you write. And of course, you're writing for the first time for Vogue, goddammit. So yeah, I'm going on a limb to say Carrie might not be the baton of work ethic for us 20-something women trying to build our careers one block at a time. So, hope you guys enjoyed my analysis of Carrie Bradshaw and her tumultuous life decisions. Even though what seemed very interesting to me after the analysis is that many harmful lessons Carrie taught me, Samantha and Miranda actually inspired me to unlearn the same values. Now, this is not me pitting two women besties against each other, but I think this is a comparison worth making and worth thinking about. It surprises me that women staying in the same city and moving in the same circles could have such different approaches to money and relationships for that matter. So think about it. Here's me bidding adieu to talking about our imperfectly perfect protagonist, Carrie. Forgive me if I got carried away with my complaints. And please tell me if you would like a reboot of this episode with some other leading lady of Sex and the City as the subject. Because they're making reboots of anything and everything these days. And just like that, I'm going. Bye-bye.